Hello, guys and gals. Me, Mutahar. You ever wonder about some positive news of 2020? You know, something to take a look at and say, "Wow, everything's been really bad for the last 3 weeks." Muta, can I have some positivity? What if I told you that the two biggest enemies of this platform, Keemstar and H3H3, Ethan Klein, actually didn't work together at all? No, this is just out of their own volition to help an entire community that was completely demonetized. Just for the last week, like shadow demonetized, whatever you want to call it. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I gotta say one thing to start off with. None of these guys had any requirement to help out in the situation, right? Both of them have been vicious targets of the commentary community to an extent, and the commentary community definitely criticizes both of them for the right reasons. And, you know, sometimes where they may go overboard, I will say for the most part, there's definitely not like a specific bias towards one or the other. It's usually whoever is in the iron sights, whoever's in the crosshairs, that gets hit the hardest, and this changes day by day. But these guys had no inclination to actually need to help any of these out, especially, you know, I would say in this case, Ethan, who's been more of a target in the last couple days, if anything, last week or two, who would have easily just put two fingers up in the air and said, yeah, fuck you guys, and walked away, actually came out and assisted smaller creators and got their channels fixed up. So if you don't know what's been going on, all right, both Keemstar and Ethan worked, I would say, in the last 12 hours with the connections they have at YouTube. I'm not talking about Susan CEO connection, speed dial stuff. I'm talking about when you're a channel as big as Drama Alert or as big as H3H3, you tend to have a connection directly to the YouTube Partner Program or people in corporate YouTube. These are connections that are human connections that aren't bots. They can email them and get an actual proper response from people at back-end YouTube. And this is very, very helpful because if you're like a smaller creator who uses the YouTube assistance or the YouTube support lines, you might as well yell at a brick wall and start peeing in your own mouth, because that is more effective than speaking to YouTube at their corporate support line level help. It's just not gonna happen. You are talking to a bot. That is what it is. Now, you may get a human. You may, all right? Let me just put that disclaimer in there. Now, to start off with, ladies and gentlemen, both these guys, obviously, you know, they've been beefing for the last 2 months. They're going to be beefing till the end of time, I'm pretty sure. There are countries out there that have hated each other for years, decades, Pakistan, India, that'll get along quicker and better than both these guys ever will. So that's something you have to understand when it comes to the internet drama game with these guys. That's what you have to understand when it comes to the community aspect. Now, in the last couple days, a lot of these smaller channels, commentary channels, started off with a channel known as Nicholas Dioria, who makes really highly produced videos regarding YouTube internet tussles. This guy got his entire channel demonetized. We're talking not kicked out of the partner program. No. We're talking all of his videos yellow dolaned. The entire community was facing destruction because it was not just his channel. It was multiple channels. We're talking at this point 10 channels that had been taken into this demonetization glitch where all their channels were completely gone. They were demonetized. They were in the partner program, but immediately their channel stopped making any revenue. And it wasn't even just the revenue. Because they were getting demonetized, there's a good case to make that their videos were getting pushed under the algorithm. So their channels would not only not make money, but they wouldn't grow despite the effort they put into their content. It was fucked. But with all of that said, all of it put aside, all right, every time they uploaded a video, it turned out YouTube was manually reviewing them allegedly to delete and demonetize those specific videos. So they could upload a black screen for like 5-10 seconds and YouTube would auto demonetize it, and it would manually demonetize it, so you couldn't like review it. And you know, to an extent we found out that maybe this was tied to the YouTube self-certification program, which, if you don't know what the self-certification program is, it's effectively a program where you can review videos manually. So if you're making a video on controversial issues, you can demonetize yourself. You may wonder why you want to do that. Well, it's because you want to develop a good relationship with YouTube. So if you feel that that video shouldn't be run by advertisers and you want to be completely honest, it makes you look more truthful in the eyes of YouTube, meaning that they treat your channel more favorably as you go on forward. They'll monetize your videos quicker. You may hit up the algorithm a little better. You'll be a much more trustworthy and halal channel when it comes to YouTube. So that's why you self-certified. The problem with self-certification in this case was somehow this system was causing channels to hit this demonetization wave. Now, you got to understand, when you're a smaller channel, right? Like I said earlier, the connections you have to talk to are not real proper connections. Effectively, what happened was Bo Black's, Nicholas Diori, these smaller channels, I'm using both of these guys as an example, had communicated directly with YouTube support. And it turned out that YouTube support was different, right? Whether you talk to them on Twitter, whether you talk to them through YouTube's like website or Google's website, the responses were different, and it was very evident that these channels were not getting the proper answers that they deserved. So that was the biggest key problem to have. That wasn't until Keem and Ethan had stepped into the situation. Last night specifically was the night where Ethan and Keem had basically stepped in and started building their own individual lists. So they included all these channels that I'd mentioned before, right? We're talking, at this point, the list has to be like 10, 15 channels. At this point, 10, 15 channels had submitted themselves to these guys, and they took that list and sent it to each of their own contacts at YouTube. These guys, because they were human beings, were able to look at it and say, okay, let's take this list, let's check what's going on in the background. And they notified both these guys that it was a fucking glitch. So yes, it turned out that this wasn't just YouTube targeting channels specifically, but it was some glitch tied up. And I could kind of sense that to an extent. You know, I was trying to figure out what was specifically the causal link between these channels and why they were getting targeted. But when you started seeing the commentary channels as a whole get targeted, we thought, hey, maybe it was YouTube trying to kill commentary. Then you got into a situation where I'm pretty sure channels that weren't swearing, channels that didn't have a reason to be demonetized, were actually being demonetized. I think there was a Spanish channel somewhere that I think was doing gaming that was demonetized to an extent too. So there was just a weird, hazy situation. At the end, it turned out it was more likely a glitch than anything else. Now, I think this was more than just a glitch. I think because of all this Shane Dawson stuff, because of this beauty community drama that has hit the mainstream to such an extent, there's a reason why YouTube is targeting channels that are focusing on criticism. You know, if you look at things going on, even Bo Black, who uploaded his Twitter comment video of Shane Dawson, was like removed. And then it was brought back. So there's like this weird suppression of Shane Dawson in the algorithm. There are videos that mention him getting removed or pushed under the algorithm because right now he is the hot topic for mainstream media. A lot of people are bringing up his older clips regarding, you know, pedophilia statements or jokes regarding that sensitive topic. And it's a topic that mainstream, again, has picked up. Like the Will Smith family got involved. People got fucking into it, right? Like this was not just some situation that can be swept under the rug. That's for sure. So with all of that said, with all of it brought up to you, ladies and gentlemen, what has gone on is YouTube, I believe, has flipped a switch in the background where they're trying to suppress these kind of things, but something went on and they blanket like suppressed or blanket demonetized all these channels. I think there's more to this than just a glitch argument. But again, all we know is that it's a glitch. That's as much as we know. And these guys confirmed it, both Ethan and Keem, from their own managers and whatnot. And it's because of this that now YouTube has recognized this as a glitch. These channels who had lost their demonetization, they had nowhere to go to, and it was literally because of Keem and Ethan that this whole situation got resolved. As soon as Ethan started contacting his people, as soon as Keem started contacting their people, like an hour after hour, there was channels saying, hey, we're back, we're clear, the glitch is gone. And in a matter of, I would say, 12 hours, 24 hours, these guys had actually saved an entire community of commentary, and not just commentary, but various channels that were affected by this weird glitch that had occurred. YouTube is going through, in my opinion, a third apocalypse at this point. If it's not going through it right now, it'll be going through it in the next couple days or maybe the next month, because shit is really about to hit the fan because of all this beauty community stuff, because of all this Shane Dawson stuff. Like, trust me, when mainstream celebrities like the Will Smith family get involved this heavily, when mainstream media gets involved this heavily, it's never a good sign for YouTube. I mean, the last time we had an apocalypse, it straight up killed channels. And if we have another apocalypse, it'll be a straight culling again. And if the next apocalypse occurs, what happened to these channels is something that's going to just happen blanket wide to a lot of controversial channels out there. And for people that parade and say, ha, I'm glad that certain channels got hit, remember, demonetization is never a good thing. Deplatformization is never a good thing. I don't support either of these practices unless that channel has been guilty of a criminal offense that can harm another individual, or they have been constantly violating the rules, terms, and conditions of the site that they operate on, which neither of these channels, as far as I've seen, have actually broken any of those rules, right? Maybe there may be one example of like a harassment rule being broken, but it was never a very malicious use of an entire channel where they had to completely demonetize and degrade every single video they had. That's what I'm getting at. Now, ladies and gentlemen, all of this has been resolved. You know, both unlikely heroes that they are, Ethan and Keem, who will never get along, they'll never be friends, have actually, like, helped the smaller creators. And that's where you have to give credit where credit is due. You may not like Keem, you may not like Ethan, and I think if you have cases for either of them to not like, people will consider them valid, right? Like, there's definitely a market to hate on either of these guys. It's very trendy to hate on Keem, and it's very trendy to hate on Ethan. But if it's one thing you cannot hate on, one thing you cannot dislike, one thing you cannot really find a fault on, is the passion and commitment they had to the smaller creators in the last 24 hours. There's a lot of big YouTubers that would never stick their cocks in a hornet's nest. That is a fact. These guys went out of their way to help the communities that they are actually the biggest targets of in the first place. And even with all of that said, they went out and they put their differences aside with the community, not with each other. Let me just put that very, very strictly. And helped out the communities and got them back up to running speed. And that is something you can appreciate no matter what. So big kudos to Keem and Ethan. Congratulations, guys. Good for you. Thank you for helping out a giant community over here. And it's one of those things that I want to see most other big YouTubers kind of do. With the way YouTube is now, if you're not helping each other, there's no way for anyone to grow. There's nothing to go on YouTube if the community isn't constantly working together. And I guess at the end of the day, no matter how fucked up things can get, no matter how fucked up relations do end up getting, it's always refreshing and kind of amazing to see when the community actually gets together in such a manner. So with all that said, ladies and gentlemen, this is me, Mutahar, and if you like what you saw, please like, comment, and subscribe. Dislike it if you dislike it. I am out.